Every World Cup gives us a few surprises. Before the tournament begins, everyone talks about Brazil, France, Argentina, Spain, or England. But somehow, by the time we reach the quarterfinals or even the semifinals, there is almost always a team still standing that nobody considered a true favorite. In 2014, it was the remarkable Costa Rica side that only stopped in the quarterfinals after losing to Louis van Gaal's Netherlands. In 2018, that surprise package was Croatia, who went all the way to the final. And in 2022, the entire world watched in admiration as Morocco eliminated both Spain and Portugal, becoming the first African nation in history to reach a World Cup semifinal. The 2026 FIFA World Cup promises to be one of the most unpredictable tournaments we've ever seen. For one simple reason, there are more teams than ever before. And that means there are more opportunities for unexpected nations to make history. In this video, we're going to look at several teams that aren't part of the usual list of favorites. But trust me, they have the potential to go very, very far. And before we begin, a quick reminder to subscribe to the channel and leave a like. Let's get started. When people talk about dark horses for the tournament, Norway is usually one of the first teams mentioned. And there's a very good reason for that. For a long time, Norway was viewed as a solid but unspectacular football nation. Every now and then, they produced a talented player, but they never really had a complete golden generation. Today, however, the situation is completely different. At the heart of this team is one of the best footballers on the planet, Erling Haaland. His ability to score from almost any position makes Norway a threat to every opponent they face. But perhaps the most important thing about this Norwegian team is that it doesn't rely solely on him. They also have the powerful Alexander Sørloth, a very different type of striker, but one who is absolutely capable of performing at the highest level, especially by Norwegian standards. And then there's Jørgen Strand Larsen, a third forward who would improve the attacking options of many national teams around the world. Objectively speaking, any coach would be delighted to have such a selection of strikers available. And supplying those forwards with chances will be Martin Odegaard, the captain of Arsenal. Perhaps he didn't have the most spectacular individual season recently, but he remains the creative heartbeat of this team. The player everything revolves around in midfield, and when you look beyond the stars, Norway's squad becomes even more interesting. Julian Ryerson from Borussia Dortmund, Antonio Nusa, a player who has attracted plenty of attention with his performances for RB Leipzig. Oscar Bob, a product of Manchester City's development system, and a number of players from Bodo/Glimt, one of the most fascinating success stories in European football over the last few seasons. Norway is especially dangerous because they know exactly how to play without the ball. Believe me, against the biggest teams in the world, Norway won't desperately try to dominate possession. Instead, they'll rely on something far more effective: fast transitions, quick counterattacks, direct football. And when you have Erling Haaland waiting up front, one perfectly timed pass can instantly become a goal. If Norway can successfully make it out of the group stage, they have the potential to cause enormous problems for any favorite in the knockout rounds. Ståle Solbakken's team faces a very challenging group. France is there, Senegal is there, and even Iraq could prove to be a very uncomfortable opponent. But the expanded World Cup format changes everything. Now, even a third-place finish can be enough to reach the knockout stage. In some cases, 3 points might be all that's needed, and that's a target Norway is more than capable of achieving. Now, let's talk about Turkey. Many football fans still remember Turkey's incredible third-place finish at the 2002 World Cup. And of course, their unforgettable run at Euro 2008, a tournament where Turkey and Russia both reached the semifinals and shared third place. But after that success, Turkish football entered a long period of stagnation. Now, however, it finally feels like a new generation has arrived. The two brightest stars of modern Turkish football are Arda Güler and Kenan Yıldız. Both play for genuinely elite clubs. Both are capable of operating on the wings, or as traditional number 10s. And in midfield, Turkey still has an experienced leader, Hakan Çalhanoğlu, one of the finest Turkish players of his generation. and still one of the most important figures in the national team setup. But perhaps the greatest strength of this Turkish side is its depth. Beyond the stars, there are quality players throughout the squad. Ferdi Kadıoğlu, Ozan Kabak, Salih Özcan, Deniz Gül, Altay Bayındır. Meanwhile, players from the domestic league also play a major role. Many people still underestimate the Turkish Super League, but Galatasaray, Fenerbahçe, and Beşiktaş all have genuinely strong squads today. Orkun Kökçü, Kerem Aktürkoğlu, Mert Müldür, Mert Günok, Kaan Ayhan, İsmail Yüksek, Barış Alper Yılmaz. The list could go on for quite a while. It may sound like I'm reading out some kind of magic spell, but trust me, these are serious footballers. Players who absolutely should not be underestimated. This squad is perhaps the perfect definition of a blend between youth and experience. For years, Turkey's biggest problem wasn't a lack of talent. It was fear of their own success. Too often, the team would take the lead and immediately retreat. They would abandon attacking football and focus only on protecting the result, even though the players clearly had the quality to be far more ambitious. That's exactly why the national team is now led by Italian manager Vincenzo Montella. After Turkey's impressive run at Euro 2024, where they reached the quarterfinals, he was trusted with preparing the team for the World Cup. So what do you think? Can Turkey repeat that success on football's biggest stage? Let me know your thoughts in the comments. Now let's move on to Japan. If Asian national teams were once viewed as footballing outsiders just 10 years ago, today Japan has firmly earned its place among the world's most respected football nations. Perhaps Japan's greatest strength is the depth and balance of its squad. Unlike many second-tier national teams, Japan has quality players in virtually every position. Many of them play in the Bundesliga, a league that Japanese footballers have practically turned into their second home in Europe. Hiroki Ito, Yukinari Sugawara, Zion Suzuki, Ritsu Doan. But the talent doesn't stop there. There are also players competing in other top European leagues. Wataru Endo, Daichi Kamada, Daisen Maeda, Kaoru Mitoma, Takafusa Kubo. Yes, this team doesn't have a global superstar on the level of Erling Haaland or Arda Güler. But that's exactly where Japan's strength lies. This is a team built around collective quality rather than individual stardom. Japan already proved how competitive they can be at the World Cup in Qatar. They defeated both Germany and Spain, and they did it through outstanding organization and discipline. Now the squad looks even more mature. Many of their key players are entering the prime years of their careers, and younger talents are steadily developing into genuine European stars. The defining characteristic of this Japanese side is discipline. They rarely lose their structure, they rarely panic, and even against stronger opponents, they almost never lose control of the game. Another major advantage is adaptability. Japan can dominate possession against evenly matched opponents, or sit deep and defend intelligently against tournament favorites. In a competition where tiny details often decide everything, that kind of versatility can take a team a very long way, and their group looks manageable as well. Sweden, the Netherlands, and Tunisia, all strong opponents, but certainly not an impossible challenge for this Japanese team. Now let's talk about South America. When people think about South American football, the first teams that usually come to mind are Argentina, Brazil, and Uruguay. And that's completely understandable. But Ecuador might just become the biggest surprise of this tournament. In fact, they have already been one of the biggest surprises of the qualification campaign. They conceded only 5 goals in 18 matches. Just think about that for a second. 5. For comparison, Brazil conceded 17 goals. Argentina conceded 10. The strength of this team starts with its defense. At the heart of the back line are William Pacho and Piero Hincapié, 2 defenders of the highest level. Out wide, they have Pervis Estupiñán and Joel Ordóñez. Without exaggeration, this could be one of the strongest defensive units at the entire tournament, especially when you add Moisés Caicedo to the equation. One of the best defensive midfielders in world football today. Many underdog teams build their identity around exciting attacking players and powerful strikers. But Ecuador is a completely different story. This team is built on reliability, physical strength, intensity. And teams like that are especially dangerous in knockout football, where every mistake becomes far more expensive. Ecuador also feels very comfortable against elite opposition. South American qualification forces teams to play under constant pressure. Because of that, facing European giants doesn't feel unusual to them. There is another advantage as well. Geography. The tournament will be played in North America. That means adapting to the climate and time zones should be much easier for Ecuador than for many European nations. Their group also looks very manageable. Germany will provide a serious test for this defense, and matches against Ivory Coast and the other opponents will reveal whether Ecuador can offer enough quality going forward. If they land on the right side of the bracket, I honestly wouldn't be surprised to see them reach the semifinals. After all, Morocco already proved that stories like this can happen at the World Cup.